Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Help the Helpers. And I have been looking forward to this reflection together for a long, long time. Is that right, Katerina? I said, I want to talk about responsibility. This was a long time ago. But then we had all kinds of other things to talk about. And now we're finally talking about responsibility. Why do I want to talk about responsibility? There's so much for us to explore about it. One thing is that it's one of those words, like I always think of the word God when I think about words being ruined, that words have to be renewed and understood because they get ruined and then they mean things that are completely different than the word was meant to mean, or that the word can mean, because we don't know what the word was meant to mean many, many, many years ago. But it seems like the issue of responsibility is so central in our world today. We can't just say, oh, I hate that. I'm not going to think about that. It feels like the chaos and the uncertainty of the world is calling for a certain kind of responsibility. And since that word has been ruined for a lot of people, it's very difficult to find that. So in my history with this word, many years ago, my therapist gave me a quote from Erich Fromm about how responsibility can't just be this free-floating thing that people point to. It has to be grounded and contextualized. And I don't remember the quote, but I found a paraphrase. But Christine is reluctant to put the paraphrase in the chat because it's not a true quote. But we may look at it later anyway. But that quote, which I don't know what it was from many years ago, has always inspired me, rooted the idea of responsibility. The other little story I want to tell you about responsibility is a story that I may have told you before. It's a very charming story, and it's a good one in this context. My partner and I were visiting Gene Genlin close to the end of his life, and Gene was troubled by a class that he had just done with Ann Weiser Cornell. And one of the people on the call had said, focusing isn't any good without action. People have to take responsibility for their focusing and commit to some kind of action steps. So Gene was telling me about this, and he said, it's right what that person is saying. Focusing has to be linked to action steps. But there was something not right about it. And then he thought about it for a minute and he said, it's responsibility. Responsibility is a bad word, he said. And then we got into this joke about all the words that were bad words. I said, entitled is a bad word. And he said, inappropriate is a bad word. I don't really even remember the words until finally he burst out laughing and he said, is a bad word. And at that moment, my partner walked in with the bagels and lox that we were going to eat. And she said, what are you two talking about? So I'm not going to go into the is a bad word right now, but responsibility is a bad word. Let me just give you a moment to feel into this word. responsibility. It's a bad word. And yet we need it in the world so much. Is there something we can do to rescue it? And that's what our reflection will be about today. But let's just take a couple of breaths. Give ourselves a moment to say, what does the word responsibility mean to me? How am I responsible? What is the feeling of responsibility? Can you touch gently the feeling of irresponsibility? When I feel I'm irresponsible, how does that feel? Just go gently in this territory. How are you responsible? And what are you responsible for? You might want to jot down some things if you have a paper right near you. Perhaps you can notice the difference in the feeling if somebody assigns you responsibility. You're responsible for this, as opposed to it coming from you. I'm responsible. And notice the difference between how that word feels when you think of you wanting other people to be responsible. They need to be responsible for this. Notice any other words that might be linked to responsibility for you. And as we've just marked the beginning of this, let's come back together. And I would love to hear very briefly, because we have a long way to go today, and we want to do the breakout rooms a little early. So some brief comments, because we have to do this together.
Can you tell me what does the word bad means? Bad responsibility is a bad word. What is that bad?
Thank you for asking that, Shashi. The thing that was charming about it is that that's something that maybe you would say to a child. Uh, that's a bad word. Like you shouldn't say the F word. It's a bad word. Uh, and I think that Gene was saying it in that spirit, that he was trying to understand what his objections were to what the student had said. Is that an okay answer?
For the time being, yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
When I hear responsibility, I don't feel good or bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel there's a weight.
Oh, wait.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not about good or bad. It's more about being who you are.
Yes. There's a weight about it. It's
Yeah.
not good or bad, but it's something about who you are. Wow. Thank you.
My words are coming to me. When there is responsibility, you don't exist as a human there. What happens to you doesn't matter.
Wow. When you have responsibility,
Yes,
then you're not a human anymore. You are owned by the responsibility.
yes, you don't exist.
You don't exist as yourself. You're just a tool for that thing. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
For me, Lynn, I like the responsibility word that you had in your email to ask us to come here today, and versus being responsible.
Mm.
For me, being responsible, for me, it's very exciting, in fact.
Mm.
It's even empowering because it says to me that I am able to respond. I have that capacity.
Yes, yes, yes. You're anticipating where we're going to go with this, Mikhail. That when
And
you
that, and there's a very strange thing that the teacher told me once. He said, we are all, or at least I am responsible for everything.
mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean I'm able to act on it, though, because
Right,
the
because
world is too big. So
right,
what can I do in the realm of
right,
my own
right.
place
So
where I am?
you already have that wonderful little change. But let's come back to how
Okay.
the word for people just rings in your ears without rescuing it before we rescue
Okay,
it.
okay.
Good morning, everybody. It's BJ. Hi.
Hey, BJ.
Responsibility sounds like despair.
Mm,
I am responsible. I
mm,
must.
mm,
And the responsibility also sounds like blame and anger. You are responsible.
mm.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's like a finger pointing at you. You are responsible.
For me, it also adds a little hint of punishment.
Mm,
Yeah.
yes. You are responsible. And if you don't meet the responsibilities, then there'll be punishment, disapproval, ostracism.
For me, Lynn, it has a smell.
Mm.
It has a smell like an animal who has a responsibility to find food. I can't describe the smell, but it has a smell.
Wow, I love that. It has a smell, and is the animal is riveted on that task, responsible to find the food.
For me, it's tied to freedom, bondage, and commitment. Like these other words came up, and responsibility is more linked to bondage, and I want freedom.
Ah, responsibility is linked to bondage. That's very similar in a way to Jean Dash, that idea that you're in bondage to do this thing.
I guess we're just We're just speaking, is that right?
Well,
You're
the,
just,
the way I do it is the people that want to speak, speak, and the people that want to raise their hands, knowing that I may not see them and everybody is responsible to call
I'm
on
sorry
people.
that I'm jumping in, so,
Yes, good.
but the thing is that I think that responsibility can mean come from responding. And
Mhm,
in that case, it can be joyous
mhm.
and not like a thing that imprisons us. So that, yeah. So I remember one NVC teacher I had, I'm not remembering his name right now, but he said that responsibility, if it's a need, something that we feel a need, then we're meeting a need by responding. And it's not like we're having to, or we must, or a have to. It's a way in which we fulfill a need to be related and caring. So
Mm,
there are different ways of seeing this.
absolutely. Yes, and that's you've given us you're beginning to open it up a little like Yael is opening it up like could be a response to a response to a need. I think there was another hand up.
There
Laura.
was, there was.
Yes, Laura?
Laura's muted.
Mm,
Sorry about that. I think I'm kind of like Charles and a couple other people. And as I've thought about this more, I think if the responsibilities are within boundaries that are aligned with my resources and my values, I
yes,
see it as an opportunity. My example is my sister's disabled, and I'm kind of her case manager, personal secretary, social worker, accountant, advisor, etc.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's a lot of responsibility.
It is, and I don't always enjoy it, but I never don't want to do it. And there is a part of it that also makes me feel productive and gives purpose to my life. I'm now retired. There's nothing I have to do anymore. And so I don't it, so long and when it gets to be beyond my resources, that's a different issue, but I work on keeping it within my resources. Let me go get my buzzer.
That's a very good point.
Laura,
If we
Very
don't,
good point,
very
right?
good point. If we can't say no and we don't have a sense of freedom about it, then of course it becomes oppressive. Yes.
Laura brings up the content of it, which I was going to bring up also, rather than as an abstraction that the word could apply to just anything. So I was thinking that I have a lot of responsibilities and I resent them and they feel imposed upon me. But when I have the responsibility to make cranberry orange relish to bring to a Thanksgiving, I feel so happy that that's my responsibility.
Oh, I feel
I do a
happy
good
too.
job.
Can you bring it to us?
Sure.
I want some of that.
I'll make some extra. Okay.
It sounds delightful, actually, when you put it that way.
Really,
Yeah.
yes. So now we're opening this up. And can you feel the change in energy as we open it up? There's a whole different feeling in the room now. So we're saying, wait a minute. We're focusers. We don't have to just have responsibility mean burden and bondage and shame and blame. We can make this word mean what we want it to mean. In some ways, it's a bad word or a dead word for many people, but it can be enlivened through focusing. So let's all see for a minute. And I love Laura's point about how you can feel resourceful and you could feel you can feel like, I forget the other word she used. Does anybody remember? What other word beside resourceful?
Purpose.
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 Yes, having a purpose. Right. So let's just take a moment and see if we can do our magic with focusing. And the magic that we do to open up this word is to unhook it. It's gotten hooked to shame and blame and bondage and punishment and a heavy burden that we can feel the weight of the world on our shoulders. We're responsible. We're responsible for global warming. We're responsible for ruining the earth. My friend says we're a flawed species. We're responsible for this terrible gap between the rich and the poor, and the homeless and the oppressed. Let's just see, after feeling that, if we can unhook that sense of responsibility from burden and shame and blame and overwhelm to the sense of, I have the ability to respond. I can do this. And there's something, to me, special about thinking of the word responsibility as a kind of calling. I know that that word will be off-putting to some of you, but I can't think of a better word. But it's a feeling that this is for you. My partner, who loves cleaning and cleanliness and order, had said to me that when she retired, she was going to sweep the streets out in front of our apartment and pick up the garbage, and that would be, her contribution. And I had thought to myself, I would never do that. She feels responsible in that sense of a calling to make order and cleanliness in the street. And I don't feel like that. I feel a calling to do help peppers. Responsibility as a calling is something you feel is yours to do because you can do it and because you want to do it. There's a want in it. I want to do this. Maybe I worry that I can't, but I could do some little thing of it. But it has my name on it. Just think about that for a moment. What are you responsible for in your life personally? And then let's look at communally. What are you responsible for in the sense that it's something that calls upon you, something you want to respond to, something that has your name on it? Laura wants to be responsible for her sister. She can and she wants to, and it's a sense of purpose. a sense of taking responsibility, not as a burden that somebody's giving you, but a sense of reaching out saying, oh, yes, this is for me. I'm interested in this. I care about this. I value this. I want to be able to have that as my job in life, my contribution. So just jot down any words and we'll come back and see what that does. That unhooking. So it's an unhooking and a sort of revisioning and seeing what we would reach for. What are you responsible for that you embrace? So anybody, let's hear what came to you.
For some reason today, I was thinking about the first experiences of responsibility and internal and first and then external, and about, standing as a tiny person teaching all my various stuffed animals about kindness and things that I was learning.
Oh,
And how proud I was when my grandmother assigned me to turn the handle on the churn that makes her butter in the morning
wow.
on the farm.
Oh, what a beautiful image.
I had a couple things. One, I don't want to oversell how much I like being my sister's personal secretary case managing. There are times I don't enjoy it, which
Oh,
is
of course.
different from wanting to be responsible and do a good job. Anyway,
Mm.
but I struggled with the idea of unhooking. The picture in my head just didn't work about unhooking responsibility. I pictured it more, I don't know, moat doesn't seem like the correct word, but a circle around me that protects me and my ability to do what it is I have to offer. Just like
Wow, I like
boundaries.
that.
Brene Brown says boundaries in relationships are, when you set them defensively, that is not compassionate. Boundaries protect relationships. The other person may or may not like it, but it protects you and the relationship. And I kind of think of it that way.
I wonder if that works for you, Jean Dash, that feeling of having a protection that says, I'm responsible for what I can do, what I choose. I choose to.
I couldn't say.
No, not yet.
No. Yes.
To me, I feel that responsibility has to do with it's associated with the person's value. If this is part of your value, you want to offer to help,
Yes,
to
yes,
step
yes,
up. On
yes.
the other hand, if this is your supervisor gave it to you, is an assignment.
That's right.
And when I feel that there are people who should also be responsible, but they say don't participate, then I feel sadness in me. Yeah.
Yes, you said a lot there, Claudia. Something about it's your value. That's why you take responsibility when you do it freely. And it's not assigned. So there's something very important about, I don't want to use unhooking because Laura doesn't speak to Laura, but I can't think of another way to say it. Distinguishing it from something that is assigned. It's your duty. You have to do it. You're assigned. But then we also have to unhook it from our assigning. It's their responsibility and they're not doing it. They maybe, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Lynn.
Yay, Pauline.
Hi, I'm just kind of remembering some of so it's the responsibility, the old myths, responsible for making God happy so that I don't get punished. And I think it's almost like that it's in our DNA in some way, you know, that in pursuit of happiness, part of the Constitution and all of that, big people's world, you know, and then duty and obligation. So I suppose it's really just making it explicit to see what is it that I believe in it or of it. So it's, yeah, remembering that an awful lot of it has been inherited and I don't really know my relationship with it as clearly as
A
I'd
lot
like to.
is inherited and we're trying to find where we are in it. And then there's also the childhood responsibilities for the family, for sometimes responsibilities for ourselves that we didn't have the ability to take. Many of us in therapy talk about how we felt so responsible to make our mother happy, who was unhappy. And it was a responsibility that we couldn't take, but it was ours, some of us. And I think there's that same sense about the world sometimes, that feeling that we're responsible for the world and we're too little. We don't know what to do about the world. There's a sense that you pick up the assigned responsibility implicitly or unconsciously in many very subtle, complicated ways through your life.
So it's
so hard. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It's so hard to separate responsibility from the internalized parent and that responsibility that the child feels, and then it becomes one of those many taboo things where, you know, there are things you're not supposed to say, and it colors the future responsibilities. So I was thinking about becoming a parent, and it's kind of taboo in society to say that if you have a child, you don't really always want to take that responsibility. You don't really always want to do that. You don't always want to be a parent. But that's such an awful, you know, it's easier to say, I didn't want to parent my mother. But when you have the responsibility of a small person, it's, you know, unless you're in a little group with other mothers where you can very quietly say, you know, I don't always want to be doing this.
Right. Yeah, so responsibility can be something that isn't always enjoyable, but we really want it. And we can have very conflicted feelings about it. But ability, I think, is a big part, that to feel the ability to respond is a different feeling than to feel blamed and burdened. I think we have a hand up, and I can't see who it is. I think
Susan.
it's Rosie. Is it Rosie?
Susan.
Susan. Hi, Susan.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I love everything that everybody said, and I loved also the unhooking language. I thought it was completely brilliant. And then I started to think about the people that have the judgment and what pain they're in. The people that said, you are responsible for this and you didn't do it. The people that perhaps succeeded at pleasing their families, but at the extent of their own energy and their own impulses. And then all that is repressed. And so then everybody else has to be conscripted into the family matrix. And if they're not, they're blamed and exiled and bad sheeped and all the other kind of stuff. And I'm just thinking about that, how hard it is to deal with those people, how much activation there is. And, and I would love for anyone who wants to speak about this and how they respond when they get this kind of activation from other people.
Yes, I think that I think that that's a very difficult. That's such a big issue because we are interaction. We're made of interaction. That's what we are. And so when people want us to take care of something, when and expect us and feel we should, of course we're going to feel that. So we're just taking one little tiny step here this morning of seeing if we can find a new path to this sense of finding the ability. There's a woman on YouTube who I like who does paint pouring, and she does all kinds of crazy things. She lives in Florida and she does it in her backyard. And she wrote a book. The name of the book is called Because I Can. And I love that. I think of her book, Because I Can. There's this feeling about it, like Obama's Yes, We Can, rather than we should be doing this and we aren't. I remember as a young person, I think Nancy, you're about to say something, but I'll just say this little story first. As a young person, listening to Carl Rogers, who was speaking to like 2,000 people. And I don't remember very much of what he said, but I remember he was saying, and this was a long time ago when I was young, we are not doing a good job in South Africa. This apartheid issue is really a terrible blight on the world. And we need to really look at this. And the way he was talking about it, I was struck as this young person by the fact that here's this American man taking responsibility for what's happening in South Africa, a million miles away. It seemed like that from my vantage point then. And there was something so empowering. It was as if he was saying, we are the world and we can do something about this. But it was just an assumption that of course it's ours to do. That's such a different feeling, isn't it? I'm noticing how there's a lot of reactivity and defensiveness from people, all the people in my world, especially white older men, because there's a feeling of It's your responsibility, racism. It's your responsibility as the privileged. And of course, there's that for me also, that I'm a privileged person and I'm responsible. And that can be a terrible burden. And it isn't spoken. It's the vibes of response. It's my fault. And then if I can change that in my mind, and our thinking is a big part of us, to say, oh, I can respond to these issues. I care about them. I care about the climate crisis. I care about racism. I care about poverty. I care about, there's so many things, and I can be part of a response to it. I can respond at those moments. Maybe I can't respond, and then it's not, in those moments, it's not my responsibility. But when I can respond, I can take that responsibility, and it becomes an empowerment, and it becomes a joining with other people there. And how does that sound to you?
Lynn, Charles, I'm thinking that maybe what we could say is that we could pause at any moment and ask, am I acting out of a sense of guilt or shame or obligation, or out of a sense of joy that we can do something and help make the world better? And pause and says, what's the energy behind my response here? Right? That's the pause helps with the unhooking that you're pointing to.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
The pause is that place between conscious and unconscious, where we can feel all the unconscious resonances from childhood, from the culture, from our immediate interaction, and we can sort of hold it and say, oh, how do I want to respond?
So that brings an element of choice in.
Yes.
And I find for myself that a sense of empathy goes a very long way towards my wanting to fill what might be thought of as a responsibility. But that's the draw for me, when I feel empathy towards somebody or something like the world, the earth, that I'm drawn to want to do something to make a difference.
Yes.
Bob's sister is very ill right now and dying, so we've been spending a lot of time with her. We've been spending a lot of time there, but I'm drawn to spend time with her because of a sense of some empathy there, I guess. But we're over there every day.
Yes.
So it is difficult at times, but like Laura was saying, there is a special feeling when being there and doing something for another person, whether it's just a very little thing and passing by somebody and smiling or commenting or something, or a bigger thing. But empathy goes a long way for me as far as making responsibility that might not even be my responsibility, but to do something.
You take responsibility when there's empathy, right? It's
Yeah, when you say I
Hey.
take it, it feels like an obligation.
Well, I'm using it, I'm picturing it there, this free thing, and I reach out and I take it because my name is on it. It's that was my image, but I can see how it could then feel different if you're not picturing it that way. But I loved, Nancy, your use of the word drawn. Maybe that's better than called. The drawn. And the empathy draws you because empathy is what we're made of in being made of interaction. But we also need to have empathy for our little selves that feel like we can't, that and be drawn to the responsibility for ourselves, that we're responsible for ourselves and
Yes,
ourselves and making ourselves feel able, empowering ourselves.
we have had to pause. We've had to pause and find ways to take care of ourselves in all of this because we were just getting so overwhelmed with it all. So making sure that we're taking care of ourselves too is part of that empathy, I think. But yeah. So we went out for a walk yesterday. Yes, little things.
Yeah. As a hand up. Jim, I think you wanted to say something.
Yes, I wanted to bring up another bad word. We have bad words today.
Yes.
Bad word I want to bring up is conscience. And from a focusing standpoint, conscience should be a good word because you kind of go inside and you find something. But just as the culture doesn't focus, the culture also sees conscience as a taskmaster who's making you do what you don't want to do. So I just wanted to throw this other bad word in the mix.
Oh yeah, I think that's a bad word that we really need to make better. We need to heal that word. There are a lot of words that need healing. You have to send them to the hospital. This is our focusing hospital to heal them.
I say conscious feels like something maybe from childhood or church or something where somebody's doing this to you and you have to do something. And it feels like the opposite of doing something because it feels nurturing to yourself as well as to the other person.
Well, I think we're going to have our breakout rooms now because there's a lot we've cooked up, right? We cook it all up together and then we go in our little rooms and we eat it together. We eat our picnic and then we're going to come back in 15 minutes and we're going to look at what came up in our rooms and also a poem that Katerina is going to read to us. Okay, so we'll have 4 in a group, 3 or 4, and I'll see you in 15 minutes. So, hi, Yao. Good to see you back, everybody. I had a little conversation with Christine in our interim, our tiny breakout room, and Christine was saying something like, let's see if I can say it right, that responsibility is often a necessity, that we have the privilege here of unpacking it, but when you are in life and death situations, or you're trying to support children with no money, or the circumstances of urgency, responsibility isn't something that you choose. It's something that that is assigned to you by life in some way. So she made that point. It's almost like it's our privilege that we can talk about responsibility as a choice, that sometimes it isn't. And she made the choice that she made the point that it's an honor. It's being chosen for something, to have the response that other people are giving you responsibility. And I certainly feel that way as a therapist, in many other ways too. And I think Laura and Nancy were saying that also. So did I capture? Yeah. Sorry, the floor is open.
Very, very quickly, Lynn, it's interesting. I agree with that sense that sometimes there's a kind of, where it's almost something we cannot not do because of a
Right.
sense of responsibility. But even then, I think we can connect to what the need is that we're meeting in ourselves by doing it.
Yeah.
Which changes it from somebody else assigning or imposing it on us to our saying we're doing it because
Yeah.
we feel an inner sense of
Yes.
of need or
Yes.
requirement.
Right.
That's still different. That's still a different energy.
Yes, there's the energy of saying, I can't not do it, and I choose it. And that's maybe the better version of conscience, that I know that this is a choiceless choice, but I still choose it.
Yes, I think it's still a choice. The consequences of the choice may be far more dire and have a lot more criticism or judgment heaped upon you and all kinds of other things, but it's still a choice.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's those things in life we call lousy choices.
Well, yes, I think what we're trying to do in opening this up is we're opening up such big concepts. Like the concept of choice is an incredibly complex, big, I mean, maybe we should do a helper's discussion about what we mean by choice.
Oh my gosh, I can't
Everything.
believe I did this. I
So
don't
much.
believe we have free choice. I think we are neurologically wired, not to say we don't learn and don't change. And so I almost am contradicting what I just said.
Well,
Because I
there's
think we're much more neurologically driven than it's like gravity. You don't recognize it, but it's there.
right. I think we are also trying to distinguish what is, from what something feels like, that we can experience choice or we can experience not choice. And that's a different discussion than do humans have free choice. But let's just hear a couple of other people, and then we're going to read this poem and talk about responsibility from the point of view of this poem. But
If I may, Lynn,
yeah.
if I may, sorry, I was
Yes,
my microphone was off earlier. There's two things. First thing, but when I hear choice, I hear choosing against or choosing with. A choice in choosing against or choosing with. And the second thing would be order. Or from one angle, saying it's an order. We have to obey.
An order. Yes.
But on the other side, an order is ordering. Number one, number two, number three, like priorities.
I like that. An order is ordering priorities. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn, I'd like to say how much I appreciate your facilitating today, in that you have been you've recognized and you've welcomed our big concepts that we have the capacity to talk about. And at the same time, you're inviting us again and again to pause and to experience that deeper level of the surprise when a shift comes and a word takes on a new meaning and fresh air comes. My sense is you've been inviting us today to an experience of the fresh air that can come.
Yes, 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 yes. And then thank you very much, BJ. And the fresh air will come for some people, and some people it could be stinky air, you know, and it's not about we all have to agree. It's about what something is what it does in us, whether it's right, whether it's liberating or whether it's confining.
What
And
something is what it does in us. That's very nice.
Yes, beautiful.
Okay, so let's hear our poem, and then we'll see what this poem does in us.
Gate A4. Wandering around the Albuquerque Airport Terminal. Wandering around the Albuquerque Airport Terminal after learning my flight had been delayed 4 hours. I heard an announcement. If anyone in the vicinity of Gate A4 understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately. Well, one pauses these days. Gate A4 was my own gate. I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian embroidered dress, just like my grandma wore, was crumpled on the floor, wailing, "Help!" And the flight agent said, "Talk to her. What is her problem?" We told her the flight was going to be late, and she did this. I stooped down to put my arm around the woman and spoke haltingly. Shudawa, Shubiduk, Ibiti, Shinti Shluk, Min Fatik Shubit Sibi. The minute she heard any words she knew, however poorly used, she stopped crying. She thought the flight had been canceled entirely. She needed to be in El Paso for major medical treatment the next day. I said, "No, we are fine, and you will get there just later." Who is picking you up? Let's call him. We called her son. I spoke with him in English. I told him I would stay with his mother till we got on the plane and ride next to her. She talked to him. Then we called her other sons just for the fun of it. Then we called my dad, and he and she spoke for a while in Arabic and found out, of course, they had 10 shared friends. Then I thought, just for the heck of it, why not call some Palestinian poets that I know and let them chat with her? This all took up 2 hours. She was laughing a lot by then. telling of her life, patting my knee, answering questions. She had pulled a sack of homemade Mahmoud cookies, little powdered sugar, crumbling mounds stuffed with dates and nuts from her bag, and was offering them to all the women at the gate. To my amazement, not a single woman declined one. It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo, we were all covered with the same powdered sugar and smiling. There is no better cookie. And then the airline broke out free apple juice from huge coolers, and two little girls from our flight ran around serving it, and they too were covered with powdered sugar. I noticed my new best friend by now. We were holding hands, had a potted plant poking out of her bag. Some medicinal thing with green furry leaves. Such an old country tradition, always carrying a plant, always stay rooted to somewhere. And I looked around the gate of late and weary ones, and I thought, this in the world, this is the world I want to live in, the shared world. Not a single person in that gate. Once the crying of confusion had stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookie. I wanted to hug all those other people too. This can still happen anywhere. Not everything is lost. So that was the poem by Naomi Shihab Nye, and it's from Honeybee, copyright 2006.
And thank you, Katerina. And I think that's such a beautiful expression of taking responsibility. Anybody have any thoughts about it, or what struck you about it?
I think there are two parts of work, or two different standpoints in taking responsibility. We may stand up for something, say something, or being responsible for certain given roles or tasks, but we are not at a place to be responsible for the outcomes, for what is going to happen later. That is not what we can do, and what we can, although we really wanted to make sure that things will go the way we want, but it can just, the Arabic women can just burst into a bigger cry, or just like what happens at the gate A4. Everyone is so touched.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
We have time for just one or two more comments.
I think it speaks of what I think Jim wrote, or something about what Jim wrote in the chat, and I was mentioning that in my breakout room of humanity. Like there is a association from responsibility when there's a choice to being human, to humanism. It's beautiful. I had read this poem before. It's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing, and thank you, Katerina, for reading it in this way. Could really take it in. Appreciate.
Yes, thank you.
This is the third time we're hearing this poem on this.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's the third time, I think. And what strikes me is that even a simple human interaction have so much richness that we can dig 20 concepts and discuss them out of this.
Yes.
You know?
It's true. That it's felt like the perfect poem when Dorothy had written to me and said, "What poem do you want?" It felt like the perfect poem to portray this ability to respond and this taking responsibility. But we've used this poem to talk about other things also. Yes, you're right.
It's really a good example of interaction, the word interaction at so many different levels. And you can, get the nuggets out of it in many different forms.
Yes, yes.
Human beings to human beings. Just being with one another.
Okay, folks, I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot from you today about responsibility.
Lynn,
Yeah.
this is Claudia. I just
Yes,
want
Claudia.
I want to tell you you're always the fresh air to me.
Thank you, Claudia. Claudia and I know each other from way back when she was in my supervision group. Thank you, Claudia.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Mm.